Jana Ranjana Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jayam Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivrad Gacharya Ashtotra Shata Shri Srimad Divine Grace A.C. Bhakti Vedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai Kantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga. I feel I'm a little crooked. I'm a little crooked in many ways, but one way is Vyasa.
Sounds crooked?
Huh?
Yes, sounds crooked.
I don't know. Yeah, I'm crooked. He told me to. Rajendrana Prabhu told me to. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So this morning we're reading from the Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 10, entitled The Summum Bonum, Chapter 21, The Gopis Glorify Krishna's Flute, and we're on text 18. Hantayam Adra Abala Haridasa Varyo Yat Rama Krishna Charana Sparasha Pramodaha Manam Tanoti Sahago Ganayostayor Yat Pani Yasuya Vasakanda Kanda Mulaye Hantayam Adra Abala Haridasa Varyo Yad Rama Krishna Charana Sparasha Pramodaha Manam tanoti sahago ganayostayoryat. Pani yasuya vasakandara kandamulaye. Please chant. All right, I'll do one more. Whoops. Okay. Hantayam adri abala haridasa varyo. Ya Rama Krishna Charana Sparasha Pramodaha. Manam tanoti sahago ganayostoyoryat. Ani yasuya vasakandara kandamulai. All right. Hanta. Oh. Ayam. This. Adrihi. Hill. Abala. O friends. Haridas. Varya. The best among the servants of the Lord. Yet, because Rama Krishna Charana, of the lotus feet of Lord Krishna and Balaram, Sparasha, by the touch, Pramodaha, jubilant, Manam, respect, Tanoti, offers, Saha, with, Go Ganayoho, the cows, calves, and cowherd boys. Tayoho, to them, Sri Krishna and Balaram. Yet, because, Paniya, with drinking water. Suyavasa, very soft grass. Kandara, caves. Kandamulai, inedible roots. Okay. Translation. Of all the devotees, this Govardhana hill is the best. O my friends, this hill supplies Krishna and Balaram along with their calves, cows, and cowherd friends with all kinds of necessities, water for drinking, very soft grass, caves, fruits, flowers, and vegetables. In this way, the hill offers respects to the Lord. Being touched by the lotus feet of Krishna and Balaram, Govardhana hill appears very jubilant. Purport. This translation is quoted from Srila Prabhupada's Chaitanya Charitamrita, Madhya Lila, chapter 18, text 34. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur explains the opulence of Govardhana hill as follows. Paniya refers to the fragrant, cool water from the Govardhana waterfalls, which Krishna and Balaram drink and use to wash their feet and mouths. Govardhana also offers other beverages such as honey, mango juice, and pilu juice. Suyavasa indicates dhruva grass, used to make the religious offerings of Arghya. Govardhana also has grass that is fragrant, soft, and conducive to the strong growth of cows and increased production of milk. Thus this grass is used for feeding the transcendental herds. Kandara refers to the caves where Krishna, Balaram, and their friends play, sit and lie down. These caves give pleasure when the weather is too hot or too cold, or when it is raining. Govardhana also features soft roots for eating, jewels for ornamenting the body, flat places for sitting, and lamps and mirrors in the form of smooth stones, glistening water, and other natural substances. So I'll just read the next two as well. Text 19. My dear friends, as Krishna and Balaram pass through the forest with their cowherd friends, leading their cows, they carry ropes to bind the cows' rear legs at the time of milking. When Lord Krishna plays on his flute, the sweet music causes the moving, living entities to become stunned, and the non-moving trees to tremble with ecstasy. These things are certainly very wonderful. Purport. Krishna and Balaram would sometimes wear their cowherding ropes on their heads, and sometimes carry them on their shoulders, and thus they were beautifully decorated with all the equipment of cowherd boys. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur explains that the ropes of Krishna and Balaram are made of yellow cloth and have clusters of pearls at both ends. Sometimes they wear these ropes around their turbans, and the ropes thus become wonderful decorations. All right, text 20. Thus narrating to one another the playful pastimes of the Supreme Personality of Godhead as he wandered about in the Vrindavan forest, the gopis became fully absorbed in thoughts of him. Purport. In this regard, Srila Prabhupada comments, this is the perfect example of Krishna consciousness, to somehow or other remain always engrossed in thoughts of Krishna. The vivid example is always present in the behavior of the gopis. Therefore, Lord Chaitanya declared that no one can worship the Supreme Lord by any method that is better than the method of the gopis. The gopis were not born in very high Brahmin or Kshatriya families. They were born in the families of Vaishyas, and not in big mercantile communities, but in the families of cowherd men. They were not very well educated, although they heard all sorts of knowledge from the Brahmins, the authorities of Vedic knowledge. The gopis' only purpose was to remain always absorbed in thoughts of Krishna. Thus end the purports of the humble servants of His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, to the 10th canto, 21st chapter of the Srimad Bhagavatam, entitled The Gopis Glorify the Song of Krishna's Flute. Om Ganativedandasya Gananjana Shalakaya Chakshulanmaditam Nena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Mukam Karitavachalam Pangam Langai Tegirim Yak Kripa Tamaham Vande Shri Gurundinitaranam Vancha Kapdribhishcha Kripa Sindhu Bevacha Patitanam Pavnebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhanitananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. All right. So here, in the first verse we read, it is describing Govardhana, and the verse is describing Govardhana as Haridas Varya. So this is verse spoken. The gopis are discussing Govardhana, and there's also been some other commentary about this verse, and in the commentary it's saying that the gopis are speaking about Govardhana, and they're saying how, unless we get the mercy or the blessings of a great devotee, how will our desires be fulfilled? In other words, spiritual desires, how will they be fulfilled? And therefore they're saying, okay, let us go to Govardhana Hill. The gopis are saying, let's go to Govardhana Hill, and we'll take a bath in Manasi Ganga, and we'll take darshan of Haridev, the worshipful deity there. And they're also mentioning how can our elders object to such a thing? And they also mention how Krishna is playing on the slopes of Govardhan there. So yeah, gopis are speaking this verse, and they're referring to Govardhana Haridasa Varya. So within the Bhagavatam, this which means the best among the servants of the Lord. So within the Bhagavatam, there's a few descriptions of devotees who have had this term, attached to their name. And maybe for the younger devotees, does anybody remember? Because first we have Govardhan, Haridas Varya, but there's two other within the Bhagavatam. And maybe the younger devotees could try first. Does anybody remember? Younger devotees, remember the two other Haridasa Varya? If you're not remembering, I could give you a clue. Okay? So, clue is, I'll give you a clue of the two names. One of their names starts with a Y. Okay? They're in the Bhagavatam. One of their names starts with a Y. He's a great devotee within the Bhagavatam. And another one of their names starts with a U. So, is anybody coming to mind? Okay, we'll get a little closer, okay? One of their names starts with a Y, and they have a very close relationship with Arjuna. Okay? And as Bhajanarayan Swami says sometimes, softball underhand, they're very close to Arjuna, okay? And it starts with a Y. Now, does anybody remember? Yudhishthira, yes. Well, okay. Now, what about the U? Do you remember the U name? Uddhava, yes, okay. Uddhava. Shiva's there, yeah. In this particular, that commentary by Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, he mentions Uddhava and Yudhishthira and Govardhan. Specifically named Haridas, best servants of Hari. But yeah, in there's a verse, 10th canto, 75th chapter, text 27, of how Yudhishthira Maharaj is glorified, Haridas Varya. And it's describing how he did that big Rajasuya sacrifice. Which, on a side note to that sacrifice, who was washing all the sages and great personalities' feet? Krishna. Huh? Another great supreme personality of Godhead. Krishna was watching. Very humble. Most humble. And in the 10th canto, 47th chapter, text 56, it's described how Uddhava, upon going back to Vrindavan, he's reminding the residents of Vrindavan about Krishna. Mainly, one of the reasons being because he looks like Krishna, same complexion. And in that verse it says he is the best servant of Hari, Haridas Varya. So, also with Krishna, when he's walking on Govardhan Hill, says that when he walks there, the stones there on Govardhan Hill, they melt, they become like mud. Originally they're hard, they become like mud. It says that they, in this way, they keep the imprint of Krishna's foot there with different markings, right? Flag and goad and thunderbolt. In the ecstasy of Govardhan, it says his perspiration is in the form of these melting rocks, because part of the ecstatic symptoms listed in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, for example, in other books, is that perspiration, hair standing on end, different symptoms. Perspiration is the melting rocks, and it says that his hair standing erect, Govardhan hair, is the blades of grass, standing erect. And the tears of love are the gushing waterfalls. So these are the tears. So Govardhan he teaches us as him being the best servant of Lord Hari how to be a servant, how to sacrifice, because every aspect of Govardhan is serving Krishna and Balaram. And it's not just serving Krishna and Balaram, it's serving the cowherd boys and the calves. So in this way, one lesson we could learn from Govardhan is that it's not enough just to serve Krishna and Balaram, but one has to serve their devotees as well. That's what Govardhan's teaching. And in the first canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam, there's description of, first canto, chapter 2, text 16, description of this idea of serving the devotees. Shushu sho shadadanasya vasudeva kataruchi san mahatseva vipra punya tirtana shevana. So by serving great souls, great service is done. And by that service, one attains a taste for the messages of Krishna. One attains a taste for Krishna conscious attraction. In other words, one becomes a devotee. The very definition of a devotee means they have attraction to Krishna. And to the degree they have attraction to Krishna, to the degree that they're a devotee. What's a devotee if they don't have attraction to Krishna? Not a very good devotee. So how to become advanced progressively is that we serve the great devotees. And Prabhupada makes a point in the commentary of the purport there that by serving someone you get the qualities of that person. And he's saying the very, one of the main defining qualities, if not the main defining quality of a devotee, is this attraction to Krishna, Krishna Kata. So by serving a great devotee, one gets that attraction. Now someone may question, okay, well, who is that great devotee? Right? Who is that great devotee? Now, anyone, unless they're an absolute fool, will say that, at least acknowledge that Srila Prabhupada is that great devotee, one of the great devotees. So by serving Srila Prabhupada, we will get that taste for Krishna consciousness, which means by serving his instructions, big and small, by trying to imbibe his mood of preaching Krishna consciousness, spreading Krishna consciousness, and then we will get his mercy, we'll get his blessings, and we'll develop that attraction. But still, it's not enough just to serve Prabhupada. One has to serve his followers. One has to serve his disciples. One has to serve his grand disciples, big and small. Big disciples, small disciples, big disciples, small grand disciples. In a family, which Prabhupada would say ISKCON is, many times he said that, then no one is neglected. No one should be neglected. Right? Because, this person's important, this person's not. That's impersonalism. So Prabhupada would say that this idea of just serving the spiritual master, one is a spiritual master is not alone. He's with his entourage. And Prabhupada would say just as one takes care of his hat, as well as he also takes care of his shoes. So in other words, one should not neglect service to the followers of the spiritual master. Because just as Krishna is never alone, the spiritual master is never alone. So people who think that, I'll just serve Prabhupada, that's a hallucination. Means it's a hallucination in the sense that they think that they are absolutely pleasing Prabhupada and kind of neglecting his followers, that doesn't please Prabhupada. So, and then this requires some humility, because it's, again, everyone could acknowledge that Prabhupada is, pure devotee, founder Acharya, Jagat Guru, right, Patita Pavan. But then when it comes to serving his followers, disciples, grand disciples, sometimes there's a little problem there. Lack of humility. So Govardhana is teaching us how to be humble. And that he's serving not only Krishna Balaram, but cowherd boys and calves. And he's serving in so many ways. So much so that they're walking over him. They're walking over. There's a saying, American saying, I believe it, and this idea, don't let them walk all over you, right? They're walking all over you. Well, we see that Govardhana's allowing it happily. Walk over me, right? So, and he's teached us this idea of sacrifice. He's sacrificing everything. So, to the degree that we sacrifice in Krishna consciousness, to the degree that we make progress, to that degree we make progress. And that requires that one develops progressively more and more tivrena. What is it? Akama sarvakama va moksha kama dadadi tivrena bhakti yogena yajeta purusham param. That whether one is full of material desires, akama, what is it? Oh, sorry. Akama, one is free of material desires, akama, sarva kama, sarva, all, one has all material desires, moksha kama, whether one is desiring liberation, one should do what? Tivrena bhakti yogena. One should engage intensely in worshipping Krishna, devotional service. So that pretty much covers everyone. Akama, no desire, sarva kama, all desires, and desire for liberation. So the sacrifice that one is expected to engage in, you could say it's intense in the sense that one is actually expected to give everything. In the beginning, we just say, chant Hare Krishna, right? Be happy. And then as time goes on, hey, give a little more. Hey, give a little more. Hey, why don't you just give your life? Yeah, we give it out for free, right? Give your whole life. And, Prabhupada was commenting on this one time. He said, or at least one time that I'm thinking of, he said that, he's walking with his disciples, and he said, is Krishna, is the spiritual master, what is it, crooked or honest, right? And then devotees will naturally, spiritual master's honest. Let's be honest, right? And then Prabhupada, smiled and he said, actually he's crooked, And then devotees said, how is that? And then Prabhupada said, just like I told all of you, just, come, chant Hare Krishna, and, you don't have to give up anything. But now you're surrendering your whole lives. So in this way, it's like a transcendental trickery. But the trickery is different than obviously in the material world, in that the trickery is actually for one's benefit, full benefit, and that one will get everything that actually one's looking for, and wanting in life. Happiness, bliss, right? Satchidananda. Eternality, knowledge, and bliss. So as we as we continue in Krishna consciousness, we start to realize, I'm actually expected to give everything. And when it says, sacrifice your body in Krishna's service, the service of the spiritual master and devotee, sacrifice your mind, sacrifice your words, that means like your whole body. And all of your words and all of your mind means everything. And that's the recommendation. And if one doesn't do that, then they're just really cheating themselves out, in the sense that they're they're not fully, taking advantage of the opportunity, of the great opportunity of human life. So now, of course, people, they say that you could say that there's different capacities in which one could surrender. Like, in other words, just you could say, okay, in terms of money, if people have money, it's a principle in Krishna consciousness that one should give charity. Now, according to how much money one has, the amount they should give is less or more, right? And as the saying goes, Krishna doesn't see what you give, he sees what you hold back. And if somebody has $1 billion, and then they give like $10,000 to the temple, it's like, from $10,000, it's a pretty good donation, depending on how much you have. If you have $5 billion, you give 10,000, I think you should increase, right? Now, if somebody gives 10,000 and they have 20,000, or they have 15,000, they give 10,000, and so, well, there's quite a donation, quite a sacrifice there. I remember seeing one, because Dayanidhi Prabhu, he somehow he showed me the how much donations devotees were giving on a yearly basis, and then I saw a person's name there, and then I was thinking, wow, because I know the person, and I was thinking, wow, I know they don't make a lot of money. But they were up there on the list. They were quite up there. And I was quite impressed. I was like, wow, this is... And we have our, don't mind Bhakti Kevin, but we have our Bhakti Kevin here. He was number 2 on the list, right? Was, yeah.
Right, toss him out.
Number 2 on the list, which is pretty good. It's almost at 1, right? So yeah, this is, to sacrifice. It's the right thing to do. It's the moral. It's the dharmic thing. It's a moral thing. It's the Krishna conscious thing to do. And again, depending on one's level, then they give more or less. Just like, anyways. Everyone see this? This is a bag here of mung dal, and and it has a little label that says mung dal, right? Now I've never, anyways, I don't know who's watching or who gave this. I'm not trying to offend anybody, but I've never seen such a small bag of mung dal in my life, and especially with the label on it. And I was trying to figure out what exactly the purpose was, because even if you boil this, it's like a taste test or something. I'm not exactly sure, but it was donated to the temple. Now,
By itself.
yes, yeah,
Well, it's a gesture.
yeah. Now, yeah. Now, making the point. Now, if somebody has 20 pounds of dal, and then they give this, right? Then you could argue maybe they should give more. Yeah. Anyways. So but the principle is that, okay, sacrifice. Sankirtan yagya. Yagya means to sacrifice. So we joined a movement, the Sankirtan movement, and the Sankirtan Yaga means to sacrifice. And the more we could do that, the better. The more Srila Prabhupada's pleased, the more we get the blessings of Srila Prabhupada and his followers. And this is the goal, to sacrifice for the pleasure of Krishna. And if one doesn't do this, then what happens is that one starts to take the very sources of distress as pleasurable. They take the very sources of distress as pleasurable. For example, atyahada priyasascha prajalpaniyamagraha janasangasya lalyamcha shadbir bhakti vanashyati, to destroy. Destroys bhakti, spoils. Now, what is that? Eating more than necessary or collecting more funds than required, over-endeavoring for mundane things that are difficult to obtain, talking unnecessarily about mundane subject matters, practicing the scriptural rules and regulations only for the sake of following them mechanically and not for the sake of spiritual advancement, or rejecting them, working independently, whimsically, associating with worldly-minded persons who are not interested in Krishna consciousness, and being greedy for mundane achievements. Now, these things spoil bhakti, according to Rupa Goswami. So if one doesn't sacrifice, and therefore one does not feel the happiness of Krishna consciousness, then these things start, oh, this sounds pretty good, right? Eating more than necessary, collecting more, whatever, the whole thing. It sounds very pleasing. So the very sources of distress, we take as sources of pleasure. So therefore, better to follow the mood and example of Govardhana. Better sacrifice. And we will see by doing that experiment, we'll have that experience that yes, this is where it is, to sacrifice for Krishna. And we will get the blessings of Srila Prabhupada, we'll get the blessings of his followers, and we'll be successful. So, does anybody have any? And tomorrow, Rajendranath Prabhu will also give a talk, and Maharaj in the evening about Govardhana. So these are different angles, different points brought up. But does anybody have any questions or comments? Yes.
Thank you. That was a wonderful class.
Thank you.
I've discussed this with Jananivas Prabhu in terms, this is the gopis longing to be with Krishna.
Yeah.
And in a sense like, wow, I wish I had the facility Govardhana had, or the cowherd boys, because they can be with him. Nobody looks, hey, what's going on? Nobody criticizes. We got to hide our feelings for Krishna.
Yeah.
And then, in general, we worship Giriraj Maharaj as Krishna, as God. So it's really nice to hear all the lessons, or a good amount of lessons we can learn from the gopis glorifying him in that mood, balanced with, we understand that primarily Lord Chaitanya, he worshipped Giriraj as Krishna,
yes,
as God.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, which a lot of, there's not so many, I mean, we have like Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he's Krishna, right, combination of Srimati Radharani and Krishna, coming in the mood of a devotee to experience that, experience what it means to be a devotee. But yeah, it's also Krishna. So we have that with Govardhana too, that, because some devotees, okay, well, is he Haridas Varya or is he Krishna? Well, it just says Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, it's simultaneously they're existing. And we could learn and worship in, different ways. There's this verse I'm thinking of, Namaste Girirajaya Shri Govardhana Namine Ashesha Klesha Nashaya Paramananda Daine. So, saying I offer my obeisances to Govardhana, Shri Govardhana Namine Ashesha Klesha, he destroys all miseries. Ashesha Klesha Nashaya, to destroy. Paramananda Daine, and he gives the highest bliss. So, this worship of Govardhana. That's a good question. What is, you know where this is from? Namaste Girirajaya Shri Govardhana Namine. You know where that's from? Yeah. Try to get reference. But, so we're very fortunate here that we have Govardhana. And special. Yeah. So, New Govardhana Dham also. Right?
And you're pointing that out. It reminded me that all the expansions of Krishna, they take any opportunity they can to engage in the service of Krishna. Ekala Ishvara Krishna, Arasava Britya.
Yeah.
Everyone, from
Yeah.
Balarama on down.
So, we could think about that. Okay, if Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he wants to experience life as a devotee. He wants to experience that. Now, we could conclude that, okay, well, it must be really good. If Krishna wants it, he's the supreme enjoyer, right? He's the supreme enjoyer. Now, if he wants to be a devotee, so in other words, that could also encourage us that, hey, it's not so bad being a devotee, trying to be a devotee. It's Krishna wants it himself. So, it's not an ordinary thing. All right. Does anybody have any? Yes, Triveda Prabhu.
Just one note on there are 3 Haridasas mentioned in the Bhagavatam: Yudhishthira, Uddhava, and Govardhana. But only Govardhana is called Haridasa Varya. Yeah, the others are the best servant of Hari.
All right. Okay, Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.